Greetings. Welcome back to Studio 130 here in the ITR Live World Headquarters. We are back behind the microphone for another action-packed, fun-filled episode of Iowa's absolute #1 conservative podcast. I'm your host, Chris Hagenow, and I got John Hendrickson here today, who is not quite as thrilled about this as I am, but he's pretty darn close. So welcome, John.
Thank you. I'm excited to be
here. Just the two of us.
Yeah.
Good. So, John, I want to kick things off. We need a construction update. What's going on out here in the courtyard?
Well, we were just remarking that it almost feels abandoned.
Yeah.
We have what we think is a patio structure that has been built, but now there's nothing. And one of our colleagues saw a semi-load of sod, but then it drove off. So that was last week. So
yeah,
I don't know what's happening. There's no furniture or anything. So
well, sometimes the appearance of activity is every bit as important as actual activity itself.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it has largely been sitting dormant at whatever stage it's at since the last time we gave our folks an update. It's just there. Now there's multiple there's, as I can tell, I think 2, maybe 3 of these that don't really seem to be interconnected in any way other than a big pile of rocks in between them. So, anyway, I'm sure it's, well, I know folks have been asking, so we need to give them an update. Okay. So John, I want to go to you. Were you invited, or why didn't you go on the Greater Des Moines Partnership trip to Washington, D.C.?
I wasn't invited. I thought I would be. I was kind of discouraged by that.
It's usually the who's who of local government glitterati, the real movers and shakers that make things happen in local government in Central Iowa.
Just like my invitation to Davos, it must be lost in the mail.
Well, look, I have my own thoughts about the roster and the agenda behind that trip, but I don't know that I'd go so far as to equate it with Davos. I just but you get a lot of local government officials and sort of the folks in that orbit that get together, and it usually if and I'm friends with a lot of these folks, so I mean it seems to flood my social media for a good week or so, is everyone taking their selfies on the airplane and everything they're doing at DC. And I'm sure they do do some real business. I thought, circling this back around, this group of local government leaders goes out there and they meet with our congressional delegation, and that's great. And they come together, and so you see the pictures, all that. But a lot of times this group, so you get 70, 80, maybe as much as 100 local government officials out there. A lot of times, some of these national leaders want to find these folks as sort of an easy way to campaign in Iowa for president without actually coming to Iowa.
Yeah.
So you always got to pay attention to who they're meeting with out there. And one name popped up on there that I thought was fairly interesting is Senator Joe Manchin.
Oh, wow.
Was one of the folks to come speak to this group of, it was. I saw it picked up a little bit nationally, but not very much. So Joe Manchin, I don't remember, did we talk about this in the pre-production meeting, or was this something that we did on the podcast? But, Joe Manchin, senator from West Virginia, brands himself as a centrist Democrat in a deep red state. And has been sort of in the middle of these these deals. I mean, he was the one that cut his own deal on the Green New Deal, and then is now trying to have it both ways, saying he doesn't like the way the Biden administration's implementing it. But the Senate landed their top recruit in that race because he's up again in 24, Jim Justice, the current governor, and anyone I talk to that's got any familiarity with what West Virginia politics says that race is over. Joe Manchin cannot win that race, especially now with Jim Justice. So what do you do when you can't win in your Senate reelection?
Run for president.
Run for president. Yeah. Why not? So but as I understand it, he wouldn't be running as a Democrat. He'd be running as either no party or find another third party.
Well, there's been speculation that there could be what I think they're driving this as what they're calling a no labels party, and I think they're the names that I've heard come up, definitely Manchin, and then I think Joe Lieberman.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gosh,
but he has to be up there.
He's got to be. Yeah, getting up there a ways. Well, that's interesting. Look, there's a lot of Americans that would love a third party, a third choice, especially in an environment where there's such dissatisfaction with the idea of a 2020 rematch. Mm. But at the end of the day, it can't work.
Yeah.
It's the very best result. I guess you'd have to go back to Ross Perot, who got, what did Ross Perot get in 92?
I don't remember.
20?
It was something like that, yeah.
And that was sort of a unique time. Where our country is so much more polarized now than it was then. It occurs to me that I don't believe I pressed record on the video today, John. That's going to be really disappointing for our YouTube viewers. But anyway, such as it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, but it'll be interesting because I think he will get a fair amount of media attention if he is to run that way.
Another thing that we haven't really talked about it, is what kind of impact Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to have on the Democrat side. Yeah. That's something we should probably explore.
He is, let's not pretend he's some closet conservative because he holds some left-wing views.
Yeah.
But talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. Well, he certainly has made tremendous headwaves, especially in terms of COVID and criticizing the administration for their vaccine mandates, and that has made him fairly popular. And also, I think he's already polling. Is it double digits now? Is he close to 20?
Yeah.
And
let's be clear. That's among Democrats against a sitting incumbent Democrat president.
And already I'm pretty sure that the Biden campaign does not want to have any debates between him and RFK.
No way.
So it'll be interesting. I think that'll be and I think there's one other Democrat in there. I forget, Marianne Williamson, but RFK I think is going to stir the pot a little bit.
So folks tune into the ITR Live podcast, John, because they want our expert take on Democrat Party politics.
Yes, yeah.
Because we're so well versed in it. But okay, so let's say that RFK Jr. is polling at 15%. Is that because 15% of Democrats really like him, or is that say something about their incumbent president?
I think it says something about President Biden. Okay. As well as Kamala Harris, the vice president.
Yeah,
I think it's people have a lot of concerns.
I tend to agree. It just shows that, and this is we've talked about polling before, but Americans just, especially on even inside the Democrat Party, they want a different choice.
Yeah,
and what I don't know is that simply don't believe that President Biden's up to the job anymore, or that he's not liberal enough, or that he's too liberal, or because there is a faction of the Democrat Party that wants to go. I mean, these are the folks that want to probably somewhat to the left of Bernie Sanders that want to, and there is a sizable number of them.
Yep.
So I don't know that, and that's where I think I'll just go ahead and finally admit that I don't feel comfortable speaking to what's going on inside the Democrat Party.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to watch. And has Kennedy been to Iowa? Do you know?
No, I don't know the answer.
I don't either.
I know that he has gotten, like you said, notoriety on the COVID vaccine stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he was part of some sort of trip on that, but okay. So I got to get another thing off my chest, John. And you heard me kind of go on a rant about this in pre-production. So the TV ads have fired up on the campaign, and primarily there's two competing forces. This is on the Republican side. You've got TV ads being run by the President Trump super PAC, and you've got, or whatever version of it is, and you've got the pro Ron DeSantis Never Back Down, whatever the name of that entity is, and they're running TV ads on both sides. it seems so far that we've seen a couple of different versions of a pro Ron DeSantis ad. I don't know. Have you seen a negative Trump one yet? And I guess to be fair, even the DeSantis one's got a little bit of a slight negative into it. And very early on, there was a pro-Trump that had some really nice visuals and everything, but it has now turned to an anti-DeSantis ad. Am I phrasing that kind of state of play correctly?
No, that's true. In fact, the ad I just saw is of a kind of a older gentleman, maybe close to retirement age, and it's been on Channel 8.
Yeah. Well.
So
now, okay, we're gonna take a slight detour here. So we've had let's just call this the beginning of our new regular segment.
Yeah.
What did John see on Channel 8?
Yeah.
Because John is to folks, he is an aficionado of the Channel 8 KCCI Central Iowa 6 o'clock newscast.
Yeah.
And he fills us in on, and I watch it from time to time. But anyway, so here is the opening installment of What Did John See on Channel 8 last night?
It's this ad run by this pro-Trump super PAC, and it shows probably, like I said, maybe a gentleman in his 50s, maybe early 60s, and he has two hats hanging up. One is a DeSantis hat, and he says, "Oh, this looks nice, and I'm going to put this on." But then it goes into, did you know that Ron DeSantis voted, cut Social Security and Medicare and this, and then he finally basically says, well, this is just another career politician, and tosses the DeSantis hat, and then he puts on the red Trump Make America Great Again, and said, this is trusted and true, and puts it on. And I'm probably not quoting exactly, but that's
fine.
That's the framework
I've seen
of the
that
ad.
one. I haven't seen that. I think there's I saw another one that I guess kind of prompted this. So it was criticizing DeSantis for his past support of the fair tax, which is the national sales tax in lieu of the income tax, which has been, that's been an issue in previous caucus cycles of just that organization trying to get some traction on it. So, and look, there's arguments pro and con on whether that'd be good. I think there's some really noble ideas behind it and why we would do it. But anyway, we take no position on the fair tax necessarily. But yes, definitely this idea that Ron DeSantis voted to cut Social Security and therefore you should support Trump. Well, I'm troubled by that, John, because that is largely been a hit on Republicans by Democrats.
Yes. Yeah.
That has been the one. Anytime that, because look, and we're not get too far into this, but Social Security is not going to be there in its current form or the long term. It's just not funded correctly. Right. And so those benefits would potentially be in risk, or a huge new influx of federal taxpayer money to make it solvent. And so it's something that any time a Republican says, hey, we might want to think about making some adjustments here so that it's solvent in the out years, then they get criticized by Democrats for that.
Yes.
And then the claim is, well, and I have no idea what was in these proposals, the DeSantis campaign or the DeSantis supported, but sometimes it's changing the retirement age for new enrollees. Like you're coming into the workforce.
Yes. Yep.
Maybe you don't get it until you're, but the implication in these ads is that I'm 72 years old. I'm on Social Security, and now Ron DeSantis is going to come take away my Social Security. There's never been a single Republican anywhere that's ever supported that kind of a reform.
Yes.
But yet that is used as a weapon in these campaigns. And so what troubles me is that we have a Republican campaign for president that is taking a Democrat, a pretty disingenuous Democrat weapon and using it to say that this person's not trustworthy.
Yeah.
I'm troubled by that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's definitely troublesome, because it reminds me of the ad that I can't remember if it was the Obama campaign that did that or the Democratic Party, but basically they had the Paul Ryan pushing grandma off the cliff in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And so it's a class warfare argument by saying that, this candidate wants to basically destroy Social Security, Medicare, and so therefore...
I was thinking about this what's the Iowa version of this? How many times has a governor or the IPERS definitely would be one like that in Iowa. But what about how many times has it been you're underfunding education?
Yes, yeah.
Democrats constantly say that Republicans are underfunding education.
That's
because
a good example.
They do not give as much of an increase to schools as the Democrats do. Therefore, they are underfunding education. So this is analogous to a Republican primary for something, and one Republican accusing the other of underfunding education. That's unfathomable in Iowa politics, at least as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But yet here we are.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
Well, I think you bring up a good point because when I watch these ads, and this is probably if DeSantis gets in, which looks like he's going to, this is going to be a bitter fight between Trump and DeSantis. But after we were talking this morning in our pre-production meeting, it reminded me of something that Barry Goldwater had said at the 1960 Republican convention. And he basically told the Republican Party, and as well as the conservatives within the party, he said, famously, he said, "Let's grow up."
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I think we need to start and this is all the candidates, we need to have the party has to have a real discussion on the issues, and we also need to figure out what is the best candidate to confront this radical agenda that's been in office now, this leftist agenda, this whatever you want to call it. We are at a transformational time in our nation's history, and so we've got to start taking this a little more seriously. I think. I don't know if that's fair to say.
I think so. And look, I'm a veteran of many political campaigns, and I'm an aficionado of a negative campaign ad.
Yeah.
And it is a appropriate and often necessary part of a political campaign, and the timing of them. And so I have no fault of any campaign that decides they need to draw a contrast in an ad. But, and so I don't know. Apparently this is their best hit. That's the one they're coming with, whatever. And so it's a criticism of the campaign and those decisions, not necessarily President Trump. And I want to get to this too, because there's, in my mind, and I have, we're not taking a position on this, any candidate.
Yeah.
But if I'm sitting in President Trump's seat, I got a lot of things I want to talk about, how things were better when I was president.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that we didn't get involved in new wars. The economy was humming along just fine. We put all these great justices on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
There are many things where he can stand up and confidently say, "I am your champion."
That's right.
And it seems to me that getting into this stuff just waters that whole message down.
It does.
And lead with what, dance with the one you came with.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I wish that President Trump would start talking more about those accomplishments that you outlined, and also hit those themes that got him elected in the first place in 2016, which was, dealing with immigration, dealing with trade, dealing with foreign policy. We got
this Title 42 business right now. I don't think there's anybody in the country that I would rather hear their take on right now than President Trump.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And,
but instead, I'm hearing about Social Security.
Yeah.
That's not the issue of the day.
No. And there's a way to address entitlements responsibly, but I mean that's what I mean. We need to get back to these issues that Americans are worried about.
Well, so I got a clip, and I'm gonna push the technology to the limits here, John.
Okay.
But this is another side of Trump that I want to hear from. And this was him on the CNN town hall, which interestingly, the clips from it are getting more eyeballs than actually watched the CNN town hall, which shouldn't surprise you. But this is Trump on Ukraine. And I don't know if I'm going to hit the right one. So let's just...
By a crazy woman named Nancy Pelosi.
But the question here is, would you give Ukraine weapons and funding if you were
elected? I would
elected?
sit down. Let me just put it a nicer way. If I'm president, I will have that war settled in 1 day, 24 hours.
How would you settle that war in 1 day?
Because I'll meet with Putin, I'll meet with Zelensky. They both have weaknesses and they both have strengths. And within 24 hours, that war will be settled. It'll be over. It'll be absolutely over.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down this country. Now,
can I just follow up on that?
Okay, so that was President Trump at CNN Town Hall on the issue of Ukraine. John, I need your take on what he had to say right there.
I actually agree, and I'm sure there's a lot of, I can just see the neoconservative head spinning.
Oh yeah, their heads are exploding. You mean we can't keep making bombs and ship them off overseas and adding to the national debt for a war that? And anyway,
I mean, he's absolutely right. The United States should be trying to broker a peace to stop this war, not trying to escalate it or provoke it any more than it is, than what President Biden has been doing.
But John, that gets out of the idea that Ukraine is good and Russia is bad, and your analysis should end there.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. I think that this is where I think, what you mentioned earlier, where President Trump needs to be doing his ads, is his record in terms of foreign policy and I mean, just the diplomacy that he did while in office, and I have no doubt that he could bring a settlement to this.
Well, and I think also, I mean, you think the things that the American people do associate with President Trump, the art of the deal.
That's right. Yeah,
and I think there's still a confidence in him to be able to do that. I mean, and so. Yes, this is what this is the President Trump that I cast a vote for twice.
Yeah.
Go in and get the job done, get us out of these wars, get the economy going again.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
And the other thing is that I know the president has made this before is, we have been dumping billions to Zelensky and trying to prop up Ukraine, and we don't even know what's happening to that money, and they just, the establishment just wants to keep throwing more money towards him, and it's there's no resolution. So I think I'm glad you played that clip, because I think it's and I think most Americans support that, because they don't see what is the vital interest of the United States in Ukraine, and that's one thing I appreciate about the Trump foreign policy was, whether you want to call it America first or what, looking at, we need to look out for our interests and
our interests may be some sort of involvement in the region. You and I are a little. We're certainly not neocon international interventionists. You may be a little bit further removed from that than I am. Yeah. But we're sort of in the same ballpark on this one, and so this isn't even necessarily a statement on Ukraine, other than this is the leadership that Donald Trump should be talking about. Is avoiding these conflicts, and to that If to get into that point about our involvement in Ukraine a little bit, is that we saw this in the ITR Foundation poll last time, John, where we asked the question, what do Iowans think? Iowans do not want U.S. troops in that conflict.
That's right.
Except for base Democrats.
Yeah.
Base Democrats are very open to the idea of sending our troops overseas to fight in a war between Putin and Zelensky, that I'm still not entirely sure that I know exactly what we're really fighting for over there.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely right.
The idea that it's just a war of foreign aggression and we got to stop it. There's way more going on here than that.
Even listening to President Biden, or Republicans who are supporting that policy, there's really no, what is the objective? There's no clear objective. No. There's nothing. And so that's I think, President Trump was right on.
Yep. Good. All right. Well, we will have plenty more to say over the coming months on presidential politics coming up. And so it's just...
it's an exciting time in
It
Iowa.
is. It's fun. It's great to be an Iowan. So anyway, with that, that's all we got today, John. Thanks for being the true believer here to be here on the podcast while everyone else is gone.
That's right. Thank you.
We'll get it done. All right. Okay, well, that's all we got for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends. And with all that, we will see you next time on ITR Live.